Welcome to News9 Mediaverse, and you are watching On Point with me. Mizoram Chief Minister Zoramthanga, in an interview to BBC, very clearly said that he will not share dice with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Though he shares his photograph on the Twitter DP, but that's another story. He said that the Christians were persecuted in Manipur. And I'll put it verbatim that the people of Mizoram are Christians. When the people of Manipur burned hundreds of churches in Manipur, they were totally against that kind of idea. To have sympathy with BJP at this time will be a big minus point for my party, quote, unquote. That's Zoramthanga, the Chief Minister of Manipur. So the question is, why is Zoramthanga saying that? An ethnic conflict, and he has put a religious perspective to it, one. Is it because of the resurgent Congress party and the alliance it's having with the ZPM? Or he thinks that, this is a good enough issue, emotive issue to be milked. So in our larger rubric of mandate, I'll be joined by Brijesh Pandey, my input editor, Amitabh Tiwari, political analyst, Subir Bhaumik, senior journalist. And before that, and before I introduce other guests, let me take you through certain details, certain questions which are very, very important. Let me walk you through certain issues which are pertinent to the Mizoram story. One, why is he openly appealing to religious sentiments of the electorate? One, why? Is there a problem? Aren't other issues working like jobs, security, or is it a non-issue? That's one. Second, is it a fallout of Manipur conflict? Has Manipur actually taken a toll on the larger Northeast's political rubric? And Zoramthanga thinks that, well, that's enough. He can win election on an emotive issue. Is that the case? Can MNF come back to power on Manipur issue? That's the question. Is it enough? Because a lot of articles say that Congress has become resurgent there. How resurgent is a different story. Then, is this going to be a problem for BJP? BJP's future. Because BJP turned the tide in Northeast. BJP was able to convince that they have a different political outreach in Northeast. You have governments in Tripura, in Manipur, in Assam, and Arunachal Pradesh. So is it going to be a problem for BJP future? Then BJP is in power in Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Tripura, Manipur, which means that the BJP is the alpha party. Congress is not there what it used to be. BJP is the A party there, which means that the BJP has the power to influence things. So I would say that this is food for thought for Bharatiya Janata Party. But then let me take you through Mizoram. Mizoram became a state in 1987. A lot of people say it's Lal Denga Award. But in 1986, under the premiership of Rajiv Gandhi, then Prime Minister, Mizoram Peace Accord was signed. It stabilized the entire region. Just to give a perspective, Congress is an alliance with ZPM. It's a new kid on the block. You see, Mizoram Assembly had passed a resolution against UCC. I put it specifically because Zoramthanga has started to take a strong position which does not resonate with Bharatiya Janata Party. So he has no truck with Bharatiya Janata Party in Mizoram, but he has not pulled out from NIDA. And Mizoram is primarily a Christian state. They're primarily a Christian state, which means that the Christians are in majority. But then if I play out his DP, Twitter DP, he has still kept his photograph of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the DP. He hasn't changed that. He has given an interview, but Prime Minister Modi is still there. So Prime Minister Modi is still there. So the gentleman has not changed his DP. So the doors are open, but it's an open season. It's an election. People do these things. And that's the most beautiful part. So my question is it a gimmick or something has changed? Brijesh, first to you before I go to Mr. Bhaumik and then to Amitabh Tiwari. Boss, what's happening?
Well, I think, Zoramthanga is displaying all signs of how a pragmatic politician should behave. when it comes so near to the election. Or the reason why, he was making all kind of tough statement about what was unraveling in the state of Manipur is because it was his constituency he was addressing to. And that is the reason why, when the government asked that, you should do a biometric attendance, which the Ministry of Home Affairs said, or that, that you should not take as many refugees as possible, he point blank refused the center. He has not pulled out of NEDA also. He has not removed his Twitter picture. So it's a very classic case of, that I am adopting this stage where I am telling broadcasters that I will not be sharing stage with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He and I will not share the stage is basically a message to his core constituents that he has adopted a tough stance vis-a-vis the BJP. But he's not going to pull out of anything.
It's like, I read an article in context of Ashok Gehlot, which was in reference to the party high command culture of the Congress. And the author, the senior journalist, she wrote, people in Rajasthan were saying, Delhi ko aankh dikha di. So are you saying that those leaders are doing well, jo aankh dikha sakte hain Delhi ko, that sort of a thing?
Absolutely. I mean, he stood for his constituents. He made all those statements. You remember he tweeted that my blood boils and it will not be good for Manipur if they keep on doing what they are doing in the state. And he said that the BJP should rein in Manipur Chief Minister. So he made all the right kind of noises to make sure that, when the state which is going to go to election in less than 20 days will have, will the predominantly Christian community will look very, very favorably to Zoramthanga, view him as some sort of a savior in this particular election rather than this. And he also made, very clear in that interview, Karthike, that, elections are around the corner and there's no point I would want to lose the vote. So he's being pragmatic politicians like anything.
Okay. I'm also joined by senior journalist Subir Bhaumik and Amitabh Tiwari, political analyst. Mr. Bhaumik, what's your take on the sort of position which Zoramthanga has started to take before people cast their vote? What's the big picture, sir?
Well, let me tell you something at the very outset. It's not BJP's monopoly to play the religious card. So if they can turn a Meitei Kuki conflict into a Hindu-Christian conflict, that's how they projected it in Manipur to retain their power base. Zoramthanga is now hitting them back in the same way, in the same coin. That's number one. Secondly, please don't forget that Zoramthanga's tensions with the BJP goes back 2 years back, if you remember, that there was a massive clash between the Mizoram police and the Assam police, and several Assam policemen were killed. The Mizoram police said that they were trying to forcibly take over a Mizoram police outpost. Now here, the big problem was between Assam Chief Minister, who is the heavyweight leader of BJP in Northeast, Hemanta Biswa Sarma, and Zoramthanga. And Zoramthanga came out, the winner in that whole thing, because the Assam police got a very bad nose. They could not take over the outpost that they were claiming was theirs. And therefore, since then, on several issues, number one, the border issue between Assam and Mizoram. Number two, on the issue of whether to accept Chin refugees from Myanmar into Mizoram. Zoramthanga has opposed the center. Center has said they should not be allowed to come in. Zoramthanga said they are our blood brothers, Chins, and it's true that the Chins, the Kukis of Manipur, the Chins of Myanmar, and the Mizos are the same larger ethnic Zo tribe. So again, Zoramthanga stood very strongly and opposed the BJP on this whole question, and so many thousands of these Chin refugees are there in Mizoram. Then when this Manipur crisis boiled over and the Kukis were, suffering, Zoramthanga not only raised the whole issue of Kukis, and then now he's saying Christians, but initially he said our Kuki brothers are in trouble, center needs to do something. The perception in Mizoram and in other areas dominated by the Zo tribe is that Delhi has not taken care of the interests of the Zo tribes, which means the Kukis in Manipur, they have suffered very badly. And there is also already the rumblings of Greater Mizoram in the Mizoram state, where a lot of Mizo politicians, including many in the MNF, are saying that if the Kukis don't get justice in Manipur, the Kuki areas of Manipur should be merged with Mizoram. So this is the revival of the Greater Mizoram demand. Zoramthanga here faces anti-incumbency because he has been in power for a while. And therefore, in the fitness of things, to beat anti-incumbency, he's not only playing the ethnic card now, he's playing the religious card. But here, these are things that the BJP does all the time. And Zoramthanga is trying to beat them in their own game. You know, आप छक्का मारेंगे मेरे बॉल पे तो मैं भी मौका मिलेगा आपके बॉल पे छक्का मार दूंगा. ये किस्सा है. Secondly, you're right in a way when you said that the Congress is resurgent. Actually, in Mizoram, BJP is never a factor, except in some smaller tribal areas like the areas of the Chakmas, the Lais and the Maras. In mainstream Mizo society, BJP is always a marginal force. And therefore, the fight is between MNF and Congress. Now, if Zoramthanga does not play this card, the Congress is likely to play. Don't forget, in 1989, I clearly remember, Laltanwala, he was heading the Congress, he still heads the Congress. He played the card of Christian socialism. Laldenga was the chief minister, and Laldenga had, said no prohibition. It's Laltanwala, the Congress people, who raised the idea of Christian socialism, and they supported prohibition. Though Laltanwala personally enjoys his drink, but he is the one for political reasons. So for politics, you do all kinds of things. And here is a case where Zoramthanga is trying to beat his anti-incumbency by playing both the ethnic card, which means the Zo card, and as well as the Christian card. And to be fair, he's not doing something that the BJP does not do. So, the BJP can't crib now because this is the game that they play all the time. And the last point that I want to make here is that there are substantive different issues of differences between Zoramthanga and the MNF and the BJP. And it's not just the way the cookies have been treated in Manipur and the way the central government has, gone about defending them. There's a clear impression across the Christian tribes in Northeast that the BJP government in Delhi has been less than fair to their cause. But more importantly, here, there are other issues like the Burmese migration. There are other issues like, the smaller tribes in Mizoram. That's the BJP's power base, the Chakmas, who are Buddhists and who are against the Mizo domination. Now, these tribes have belatedly raised the demand that they want a separate union territory. Now, this is something that Zoramthanga is going to play up. See, his whole idea of joining hands with the BJP was to convert these smaller tribal votes into the MNF vote bank.
Correct.
Because normally these smaller tribes, like the Lais, the Maras, and especially the Chakmas, they never vote for MNF. They think MNF is a very heavyweight Mizo party. It's like the Hindi-speaking population and the Gorkhas in Bengal not voting for Trinamool Congress because it's seen as a very Bengali party. The same thing is there in Mizoram. Now here, if Zoramthanga realizes that by siding with the BJP is not going to get any additional, mileage in these areas, because these tribes are now talking of a separate union territory, then let's play the Christian card and the Mizo card very strongly and play the game of both ethnic and religious consolidation. And that's what Zoramthanga is doing.
So,
at the end of the day, Zoramthanga was a underground rebel leader. But in the last several years in power, he has learned Indian politics, and therefore he will play the game of the Panditjis. He will play the games that the Panditjis play. He's no longer the, sort of fighting, insurgent leader in the jungles with a gun in his hand. He's a, Panditji in his own way. So he's going to play this game.
So you are saying that he's become a political guru. The three things very interesting, three things you have said, Mr. Bhaumik. Three very interesting things. The idea of a greater Mizoram, the lessons which Zoramthanga has learned from Bharatiya Janata Party, because the card, the so-called card is not someone's monopoly. If someone plays an Hindu card, the other person can play their own card, then other person can play the caste card. So card is a card, whether it's a Hindu card, Christian card, caste card, tribal card. So that's the second most important point. And the third most important point is that BJP's constituency in that area was of the smaller tribes. Mr. Tiwari, but then it begets a question. It means that after 7-8 years of BJP's monopoly, suddenly you have a gentleman turning things around. Do you think that this is something which can create problem for Bharatiya Janata Party in a longer run? Because I recall the last Nagaland election I covered, the speeches which Kiran Rijiju gave was about food, culture, different positioning of Bharatiya Janata Party in Nagaland, and he was a different man speaking in Nagaland. He spoke a different language there, in the sense that it was not something I could hear a minister speak like this on the issue of culture to say in Shamli, Delhi. So do you think that it affects that larger rubric, or is just limited to, you say, well, just one state, Mizoram?
No, see, essentially in the Northeast, the BJP is in power in 4 states, which you mentioned, but it's also dependent upon allies in Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim and Meghalaya. So BJP is the junior partner in these states. And normally in the Northeast, the regional forces align with the party which is in power at the center. That's number one. Number two, I specifically do not understand this statement which Zoramthanga is making. He is saying that he will not participate in a joint rally or something with Narendra Modi, and he has requested him to come separately and he will not share the stage, etc. See, MNF is contesting on 40 seats in Mizoram. BJP is contesting on 23 seats. There is no alliance. So if there is no alliance of BJP and MNF in Mizoram, then there is no question of a joint rally or a campaign like it happened in
No, Mr. Tiwari, my question was not that. My question was not that. You see, these are the things that Zoramthanga has said. I have not, this is an interview, he gave it to BBC 48 hours ago, it's there. If I would have had the copyright, I would have produced it. But I have to give them a quote like a gentleman journalist. So I'm saying so, because I can't run away with someone else's credit. So I say so. But you see, the word which he used and on which I have decided to do the program is that the people of Mizoram are all Christians. When the people of Manipur burned hundreds of churches, they were totally against this kind of idea. To have sympathy with BJP at this time will be a big minus point. Won't share stage with PM Modi when he comes to campaign. I mean to say, his DP on Twitter has Prime Minister. His DP, Twitter DP, he's standing with Prime Minister Zoramthanga.
So that's the contradiction which I am highlighting as well.
You see,
correct?
yes. So,
and
then he's talking about this, and he says, Indian government helped the refugees from erstwhile East Pakistan, even arm them to attain independence. We don't arm the refugees from Manipur, but we simply provide them food and shelter on humanitarian ground. So the whole idea of, since the elections are on, people rarely discuss the issue of Mizoram. I thought let us do the programming on Mizoram. Just because it's a sponsor, we will not talk about it. But ultimately, it is responding to the Manipur crisis. A neighboring chief minister has reformulated his entire electoral strategy because of something else happened in Manipur. And I think that's the fact of the matter, sir.
Yeah, so a neighboring chief minister perhaps realizes that he would have to pay the price for being in NDA for all these 5 years, despite the Manipur crisis. The Manipur crisis has had effect for the last 6 months or so. Despite that, he is still part of NDA. So now he is trying to posture to the people, his voters, because he is also suffering from an anti-incumbency. He is facing a tough triangular contest with ZPM and Congress. So he is probably trying to undo that and communicate to his vote bank that he stands with the people of Manipur, or rather he's not happy with the way the BJP has handled the issue of Manipur, and he wants to distance
Christian
himself.
Outreach. Do you think it's going to have an impact on BJP's Christian outreach, which they successfully did and continue to do so in Northeast? Very successfully.
I would not say it would impact BJP's Christian outreach in the entire Northeast, because each state has its own dynamics, and in the entire country as well. If you see, BJP has been in power for some time in Goa. So I think it's largely a state-specific issue, and it's an electoral, I would use the word gimmick, which he's using to neutralize his.
So basically, you are
saying
saying
being part of NDA.
So you are saying, basically, you are saying gimmick. Let me go back to the camera. Mizoram is one state. Mizoram, Manipur, other states. Mizoram won because it got stabilized after 96. It's an important state. The Lal Denga Accord, people generally call it. But it's stabilized, successful, peaceful, You go cover elections in Mizoram, it has a different template, it's not like Uttar Pradesh. You will have no campaigning on Sunday, You're not expected to go. It's a different place. But it's not as if the ruling dispensation is not aware of it, that the Congress might try to gain the upper hand. Prime Minister, if I am not wrong, in August in Parliament, Prime Minister of India, in August in Parliament, was defending the BJP's position on Manipur, and he spoke about Mizoram also. He referred to Mizoram also. Let's listen into that bite which the Prime Minister made in the Parliament.
5 मार्च 1966, 5 मार्च 1966, इस दिन कांग्रेस ने मिजोरम में असहाय नागरिकों पर अपनी वायुसेना के माध्यम से हमला करवाया था। और बड़ा गंभीर विवाद हुआ था। कांग्रेस वाले जवाब दे, क्या वो किसी दूसरे देश की वायुसेना थी क्या? क्या मिजोरम के लोग मेरे देश के नागरिक नहीं थे क्या? क्या उनकी सुरक्षा ये भारत सरकार की जिम्मेवारी थी कि नहीं थी? 5 मार्च 1966 वायुसेना से हमला करवाया गया, निर्दोष नागरिकों पर हमला करवाया गया। और माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, आज भी मिजोरम में 5 मार्च को आज भी पूरा मिजोरम शोक मनाता है। उस दर्द को मिजोरम भूल नहीं पा रहा है। कभी इन्होंने मरहम लगाने की कोशिश नहीं की है, घाव भरने का प्रयास तक नहीं किया है, कभी उनको इसका दुख नहीं हुआ है। और कांग्रेस ने इस सच को देश के सामने छिपाया है। दोस्तों, ये सत्य देश से उन्होंने छिपाया है कि अपने ही देश में वायुसेना से हमला करवाना। कौन था उस समय? इंदिरा गांधी। अकाल तख्त पर हमला हुआ है तो अभी भी हमारी स्मृति में है। उनको मिजोरम में उसके पहले ही आदत लग गई थी और इसलिए अकाल तख्त पर हमला करने तक वो पहुंचे थे, मेरे ही देश में। और यहां हमें उपदेश दे रहे हैं। आदरणीय अध्यक्ष जी, नॉर्थ ईस्ट में वहां के लोगों के विश्वास की इन्होंने हत्या की है। वो घाव किसी न किसी समस्या के रूप में उभर करके आते हैं, उन्हीं के कारनामे हैं। आदरणीय जी,
and let me explain you the context. This was the debate on Manipur, Brijesh,
Yes,
correct?
absolutely.
And the Prime Minister was trying to defend his party's position on Manipur because Rahul Gandhi and other leaders from opposition were saying that why didn't you go to Manipur and visit it? So the Prime Minister was trying to say that you don't teach me lessons, you used Air Force in Mizoram. So in the debate on Manipur, in defending Bharatiya Janata Party and his government as to what they did in context of Manipur, Prime Minister made this reference to Mizoram. I have used this bite to put things in context that Northeast is not out of BJP's priority. I am not using the word conquest, but it's a prized jewel. It shows it was a answer to the world that the BJP is not a heartland party. When they made government in Jammu and Kashmir, when the governments were made in the Northeast, the BJP, if you recall, went to town saying
Absolutely.
that who is the national party? We are the national party.
In fact, if you remember, one of the first decisions which was taken by Modi government was to make sure that every one senior minister will visit any of the northeastern state in every 15 days. So it was a major attempt by the BJP to connect the northeast and make sure that the outreach, BJP's outreach to northeastern states is pretty good. And I mean, the kind of visit, the kind of effort, the kind of impetus which was provided by Prime Minister Narendra Modi also reflects in the fact that now BJP is a junior partner in 4-5 states, but BJP also is party in power in 4 states. It's a completely different situation which was there before that.
Okay.
Wonderful. Mr. Bhaumik, I played the Prime Minister's, played the Prime Minister's bite, but this question is for you. Will it change template for BJP, or you think that the politics will remain immune in Northeast, sir?
I find that reference to the use of Air Force in Mizo Hills in 1966 extremely disgusting, and it shows the complete lack of understanding of Northeast.
Mr. Bhaumik,
Prime Minister's bit.
Mr. Bhaumik, only thing I listen to you. Only thing I would like to say, it's a bite. It's part of a speech on 10th August.
No, it's not a bite. It reflects the attitude of the.
Please listen to me now. I'm not stopping you. I'm just saying it was from his speech made on 10th of August. I'm just putting it record for our viewers.
That makes no difference. Do you guys know in what context this was happening? In 1950s, early 60s, the Nagas were revolting, and the Naga rebellion was gaining so much strength. In 1966, two things happened. First, the Nagas started going to China for trading. Secondly, and this is immediately after the Indo-Pakistan War, with the help of Pakistan, Pakistan intelligence, Lal Denga unfurled the banners of rebellion, in which 5 cities, 5 towns of Mizo Hills were overrun by the MNF. The Assam Rifles could not hold on. They barely held on to Aizawl. It was the decision of the Indian Army. Don't forget that people like General Sam Manekshaw were leading the Indian Army at that point of time. They decided to use air power because the MNF had overrun 5 to 6 towns of Mizoram, and Aizawl was barely holding on. You know, this kind of cheap stunt that is played out for political gimmicks is unwelcome. You have to understand the context of 1966, which most of you guys don't know, that in Mizoram, Operation Jericho, which was unleashed by the MNF, Lal Denga, Zoramthanga, these guys, 5 cities, 5 towns were overrun by the MNF, and therefore limited use of air power was done. People in Mizoram no longer talk about it. Suddenly the Prime Minister comes up with it, and this is putting a blot on the record of the Indian military operations in that region. Don't you ever forget that the scene in 1960s was very, very despondent. And this is one of the reasons why Indira Gandhi decided to militarily intervene in East Pakistan to put an end to the major external support base of the northeastern rebellions. That was East Pakistan. So, you know, you put something out of the context and you are trying to defend your own government. Now, let me come to the point here. There was a much bigger riot in Assam in 1983. You remember nearly 1,800 people were killed in one night. But Indira Gandhi handled that riot in 20 days. And these chaps can't control the riots in Manipur for 5 months. Who are you comparing whom with? Are you comparing yourself with the wall? So here, this whole culture of taking something completely out of the context and unleashing some stray facts to prove a point. I have studied Northeast. I've written on Northeast. I don't have to learn Northeast from Narendra Modi, okay? I know what happened here. And therefore, let me tell you very clearly that this statement, which is questioning India's military's role in using air power in the Mizo Hills in 1966, is completely out of context. And I find this absolutely disgusting. Number one. Number two, please listen to me.
No, Mr. Bhaumik, perfectly okay. But I also need to accommodate others. If you have made this point, then I need to go to Brijesh and Amitabh. I can come back to you.
Yeah, if you don't allow me to complete what I have to say, then you please go to these other people and leave me out. I don't want to waste my time.
Mr. Bhaumik, why are you getting angry?
Okay.
You are the first person I went to.
No, what do you mean getting angry? You don't allow me to complete.
Okay,
now here, let me make one final point.
Okay.
Let me make one final point, and please listen to this very carefully. Yeah? These people are talking of Indira Gandhi. She broke up Pakistan. She made India a nuclear power. She signed the first agreement with the Nagas, which effectively broke the backbone of the Naga movement. She did the agreement with Sheikh Abdullah. And last but not the least, Sikkim became a part of India during our time. All this in 5 years. And the man who has screwed India with demonetization, mishandled COVID, crisis, is criticizing Indira Gandhi. What are you talking about?
I think you have taken it in a different direction, Mr. Bhaumik. You have taken it in a different direction. The whole point of using the bite was not about Prime Minister Modi. It was about that the Northeast is not out of Bharatiya Janata Party's ambit.
It's all about how irresponsible
it's a different debate, Mr. Bhaumik. Mr. Bhaumik, it's a different debate. It was not a debate on Mr. Bhaumik. It was not a debate on Prime Minister Modi. It was a debate on Northeast and why Mizoram is important.
This whole debate on Northeast reflects on Prime Minister Modi.
That's a different thing. That is your personal view, and we are not here. Mr. Bhaumik, we are not here. Today's the debate point is not Prime Minister Modi. Today the debate point is Zoramthanga. What is happening in Mizoram? Why has he used it? Do you think that Congress and the ZPM are doing well? These are the basic questions. These are the questions people ask on Telangana or Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. Similar questions on Mizoram. Is Congress doing well? You are the expert. Is ZPM and Congress aligning a good alliance?
Let me tell you something here and finish. Congress is a potent force in Mizoram because don't you ever forget, Rajiv Gandhi is seen as the main man who brought back peace to Mizoram in 1986 because he not only signed the agreement, he asked his own government in Mizoram, headed by Lal Thanwala, to step down to make room for an interim arrangement. No Indian party has done it. No Indian party has sacrificed his own government to bring back peace to a state which has been rogered by 20 years of insurgency. Rajiv Gandhi is the man who did it. And today when Rahul Gandhi goes there or Sonia Gandhi goes there, they get a lot of traction with the Mizo people.
These are the visuals which are playing. Mr. Bhaumik,
who are not coming up with empty boasts,
Mr.
but
Bhaumik,
who brought back peace to Mizoram.
So
this is a very
Mr.
important
Bhaumik,
factor.
yes, these are the visuals playing on my TV channel. These are the visuals. This is the Rahul Gandhi's rally which took place. That's where he went. The file footage. The last rally which he did. These are the visuals. So my question to you is, since you are the expert, why has Congress aligned with ZPM? What does ZPM hold? A lot of people in Delhi would know that.
The Congress has aligned with the ZPM because they are up against MNF. They want actually to counter this MNF's very strong Mizo narrative. The Congress has to come up with a counter narrative that they are the people who brought back peace to Mizoram. And they are critical of the MNF because they are saying at the grassroots level that the MNF is opportunist, that the MNF has been with the BJP all this while, but is now breaking off before the elections because of what has happened in Manipur. So this is how the Congress is trying to attack the MNF, because the main fight there is between MNF and the Congress.
Okay.
BJP is a very marginal force there.
BJP is a marginal force.
And yeah, exactly. And as Amitabh ji rightly said, that in 4 states which are Hindu dominant, BJP is in power. But in the other Christian state, they are the junior partners. They are trying to, get some share of power by aligning themselves with strong regional parties. But now the cracks in these alliances are showing up. And especially after the police clashes between Mizoram and Assam, the NEDA, the Northeast Democratic Alliance, has not been functioning at all. Because people like Zoramthanga is saying that the BJP monopolizes it. They don't like Hemanta Biswa Sharma to be, leading the charge because they have an old problem with Assam. These are historical factors. And these are factors that play into the tribal psyche which politicians would like to exploit.
Amitabh, do you think that the cracks have started to appear, as Mr. Bhaumik said? Can you unmute yourself, Amitabh?
See, the cracks have started to appear since the Manipur episode, I would say. So the Manipur has had an impact on neighboring states and in the entire northeast region. And as Bhaumik ji said, mostly in states where the Christian community is in majority. Now, what Zoramthanga also perhaps is trying to do is to what we call in the Hindi heartland is trying to nationalize the election here, correct? Because he sees that there is a local anti-incumbency against his MLAs and himself. because, and which is fairly natural. So by taking, or rather by using this statement or diverting the issue to national issues, and also trying to distance himself from the fact that he is not very pleased with how the BJP has handled the Manipur issue, and he stands by his community uh, in this situation, is also trying to take away the focus from local issues, which the Congress and the ZPM will now have to be wary of. Because he, as you said earlier, he is learning from the BJP, as you said. So I would say he's learning from the Modi Shah model of governance, where he is trying to take away the focus from local issues of the voters to national issues, and probably negate the natural anti-incumbency which has creeped in the past 5 years.
Amitabh, Brijesh this side. I wanted to ask you one thing. That do you think that this what is happening in Mizoram, or the statement which is being made by Zoramthanga, the anti-Christian, trying to portray the BJP as anti-Christian and all, will have a spillover effect in the 4 states where the BJP is in a power, or BJP is a dominant party?
I don't think that is likely to have a significant impact on other states, because, as I said earlier, all the states in the Northeast have their own dynamics, needs, aspirations, leadership, and challenges. That's not likely to have an impact. However, BJP is not a big player in Mizoram anyways. Optically, if MNF is also trying to distance itself from the NDA, then after the exodus of many allies from the BJP or the NDA in the Hindi heartland and in the western part of India, this optically also is not a good thing for the BJP, because, as you said earlier, BJP was trying to portray that it is a pan-India party by making foray in the Northeast, and if allies from the Northeast also tried or start to distancing itself from the BJP, then it sort of negates that pan-India position which the BJP was trying to build in.
I think that's a good enough answer. But Mr. Bhaumik, coming back to you, do you feel that the conflict in Manipur, because that's the root cause, has changed the dynamics of the adjoining state, or is it a sort of a far-fetched statement I'm making from Delhi, or do you think that simply?
No, you are making an absolutely correct statement. 3 reasons I would say has made Manipur and the developments there, the situation there, a factor of politics in the neighboring states. Number one, is this whole idea of majority minority. And here, the Manipur model is now held up by the Nagas, by the Mizos, that BJP at the end of the day, for all their Christian outrage and all their good, things that they say, is essentially a Hindu nationalist party. It's a Hindutva-based party. They believe in Hindu, Hindustan. And therefore, suddenly, they have come out totally in support of the Meiteis. Now, I'm not saying objectively this is correct, but this is the perception, and perception rules politics. So this is number one, that the developments in Manipur has actually ended up alienating the BJP from some of these other non-Hindu tribal water on their outrage. Here, the problem is the BJP does not really know how to reconcile its essential identity as an Hindutva party with this, need and necessity to make an outrage to the Christians in Northeast, the other populations in Northeast. And this is something they are not able to come up with an answer with. And the crisis in Manipur and how it is impacting in Mizoram and other states is a good example. Secondly, and this is very important, is the Myanmar factor, which the BJP, now you have BJP leaders, including the Prime Minister, saying that India should play a role in Ukraine, India should play a role in Palestine. Point is, next door you have this huge civil war situation in Myanmar, which is much more important directly for our interest. If Myanmar is in this kind of civil war situation, take it from me, there is going to be no look east. Look east is going to be, or act east is going to be a cliche. But the point is, has the Indian government shown any interest in doing something about the peace process in Myanmar? India can do it. India has a direct connect through the Indian military with the Myanmar military. India has connect with the major political parties and even with the minor ethnic groups. Zoramthanga himself has very good connections with the ethnic rebel groups in Myanmar. Why not use him? Why not use, people like Ranjan Singh, who's Minister of State? He's from Manipur, to start some kind of a peace overture in Myanmar. Because unless you sort out Myanmar, you can't sort out Manipur, you can't sort out Northeast. One is going to affect the other. And the Myanmar issue is now constantly spilling over into the Northeast scenario, especially in the states of Manipur and Mizoram. And this is something India has to do something about. It's not good enough to take on Canada, or it's not good enough to say something about Ukraine and get some political mileage out of it. It's more important to actually play a very important, straightforward role and not say, oh, in Myanmar, we are waiting and watching.
Okay.
We have left it to the ASEAN. If you are a regional power, you have to play a role in the region. Forget about Ukraine, forget about Palestine.
Okay.
Play a role in next door Myanmar. You can't do it, don't call yourself an important regional power. Number 3, and this point is extremely important, is that we all know that Mizoram, the peace has held. Mizoram is one of the few areas in India, surely in Northeast, where the peace accord which was done with the whole rebel leadership, not with a split leadership, this accord has held. It's therefore very important in the interest of India's image. India's image as a democracy capable of sorting out these kind of ethnic rebellions through the democratic process. It's in that interest that you need to keep Mizoram the way it is. And you don't allow things to boil over. And therefore, you don't just play the election card. Yeah, सब कुछ में चुनाव लाके आप हल्ला मत कीजिए. Long term को सोच के फिर आप जो बोलना है
that's a good point that the peace needs
सब
to
चीज
stay.
में चुनाव लाना जो है ना, ये मुल्क के लिए ठीक नहीं है.
नहीं,
इतना हम
चुनाव पे आपसे तो बातचीत तो जरूर होती रहेगी. मिजोरम के चुनाव में there will be a lot of interesting things which will need to come to you. But Brijesh, Mohan Bhagwat on Vijayadashmi, he spoke about Manipur, and he spoke about the foreign power thing, and he said who is trying to destabilize it. If you look at Biren Singh's interview, he's clearly talking about transnational conspiracy. And on the other hand, you have the chief minister right in the middle of his elections saying that, well, these people need to be held. They are refugees, 40,000 of them. Then he's saying that, well, he has passed a resolution against UCC in assembly. He has taken a position against biometrics. So, there are two things happening simultaneously. BJP has started to take a position on foreign transnational conspiracy. And this gentleman, the chief minister of Mizoram, has directly trained his gun internally.
Well, Karthikeya, I would say that if you look
because
at
he didn't use the word transnational conspiracy.
He didn't. And the fact of the matter is that, what Mohan Bhagwat said that day was he was basically echoing the similar kind of sentiment which was voiced by Manipur Chief Minister and Biren Singh. And the reason why that was voiced was that because that was one of the part of the entire gamu of, if you look at the entire equation, which pointed towards how the violence was taking shape by shifting the complete blame on trans-border, or how this is being fueled or being egged on by people crossing over from Myanmar, suited their narrative, and that is the reason why they were doing that. Zoramthanga is in a completely different fix. Elections are around the corner. If I take you back 4 months back, the elections would have been 5 months away.
But
and no government
is BJP worried what's happening in Northeast? All these statements,
Well, I would say that if you look at the security matrix, definitely they might be. But if you look at the political matrix, they are not.
It doesn't make a difference.
You think
that ultimately,
they're not a player. See, Karthikeya, they're not a player there. And they know as Amitabh Tiwari very wisely said, most of these states, they're dependent on the largesses of the center. And that is the reason why, you have all kind of statement being made left, right and center during the course of election. Immediately everything changes. That is why BJP is in power in a junior capacity.
Let's play that DP thing. Let's play that DP thing. Is that the reason you're talking about?
Well, absolutely.
Let's play that DP thing.
See, if you look at the history of Northeast, I mean, no chief minister can survive by taking on a strong center, and that is the reason why once the elections are over, he has not pulled out of NEDA. He has not said that I'm not part of NDA. But he's just keeping it tantalizingly
But he's
close.
riding a tiger, Brajesh. He's riding a tiger because once he's putting the ethnic issue from talking about it from a religious prism. In our conversation, if you recall, 5.5 months we have said it's an ethnic issue. Neighboring chief minister plainly speaks from the religious. He says it's a religious issue.
See, what is happening is that what is playing out in Manipur, he can't do anything about it. But the spillover is happening in his state, and what the spillover is something which is suiting him politically also. So that is the reason why you saw the entire the kind of statement which was made by Zoramthanga about how he's deeply upset, how we will make sure that he will give refuge to as many immigrants or as many refugees who come over from Manipur, but he never pulled out of NDA, he never pulled out of NEDA. So you like to keep your equation balanced with the center, especially if the center is powerful, because as long as the Christian narrative, as long as the refugee narrative, as long as the persecution narrative suits your situation in your state, why bother go extra mile?
Northeast is a beautiful place to cover, but if you enjoy their issues and if you enjoy the coverage, it's a fantastic place. I recall in Nagaland, you would have candidates sitting together and one by one they'll make speeches and people, all of them, they'll be standing and listening to it. So imagine 3 candidates from 3 different parties on the same podium at the same time, they'll make the
Which is unthinkable in Uttar Pradesh or Bihar or Madhya Pradesh.
मारपीट हो जाएगी, मतलब जिसे कह सकते हैं हिंदी में, there will be a huge bhasad and I don't know what will happen. So but nonetheless, Mizoram election is very, very important. What Manipur does for Mizoram, that's one. Secondly is the issue, the position that Zoramthanga has taken, because he had become pretty vocal right from the start. So one will have to see that, is this the way he's going to take on Congress ZPM? But then a lot of people say that the Congress ZPM is putting up a good fight. But nonetheless, Zoramthanga is an old timer. He has seen many seasons fly. So I don't think he's a lightweight. I think he's the heavyweight of the Northeast politics. So one will have to wait and see. But nonetheless, the fight is going to be tough in Mizoram.
Literally every major power in the world is gearing up with its own digital currency. And so is India. But India's UPI has taken digital transactions to the next level. So, with UPI already available, what exactly is the use case for the e-rupee?
This and more streaming on world's first news OTT. News9 Plus, download now.
इंजीनियरिंग कर रहे हैं, जो कि सभी लोग कर रहे हैं.
Coaching is now starting from grade 3, 4, 5, 6.
कोटा जाने वाली बीच राह में आधे टेस्ट देके हैं सिलेक्शन की चाह में.
ऑल इंडिया का बच्चा कोटा जाता है.
This rat race is for rats, not for humans. So why should we even be a part of it?
The Rat Race. This and more streaming on world's first news OTT. News9 Plus. Download now.
Delhi has the fastest growing metro network among G20 nations. From 6 stations in 2002, it today has 286 stations. Reliability, cleanliness and affordability have set the template for other Indian metros. The architect of this modern-day world-class marvel is E. Sridharan. Watch the extraordinary life of Metroman E. Sridharan streaming now on News9 Plus. Download now. members of the Indian community are taking on Hamas terrorists in Israel.
About 206 reservists have been called for duty.
But back in India, their own community members are facing a twin crisis. First, displaced by the ethnic clashes in Manipur. Second, their dreams of returning to their holy land of Israel shattered.